powerful that it is aggressively expressing its stand there, and it is showing to the whole world that America on its knees in front of us, and this is our land, we rule here, and we will not compromise, and we will get our conditions fulfilled. So all these continuous bombing on consulates and all, these all were the symbols of a kind of a American defeat there. And everywhere America is getting exposed, whether it's the Iran issue, whether it's the Korea issue, whether it is the Afghanistan issue, and it is bound to make compromises there, especially in this Afghanistan situation. So these are some you may say examples of erratic decision making, erratic nature of Mr. Trump. And when countries are also divided on most important issues, like we discussed the Iran issue yesterday, where the European countries were not on the same page where Trump was. So that was some issue. The Yemeni situation is also unique, where America's support was there with Saudi Arabia, and still they are not able to win the war there, and they are making compromises, and now the rifts are appearing between these allies who were attacking the Houthis. So this is how indirectly America has to brood over all the situations, and introspection they need to do, because their decision making, their over egoistic talks now facing some flag there. So that's the issue. So the negotiations were over, and those were on the issue of assurances that they were demanding from Taliban group. So that is also a laughable situation. This line defines everything, that they were demanding assurances from Taliban group. So it's a pitiable condition for Afghanistan. The Afghan government is no more powerful, and it is all clear that they are not ruling any territory. Their people's support may be there, but the dominance and the fear is there for Taliban group. So this is all, and it is not a simple issue. A lot of articles will come on this topic, and we will have to discuss these things in much detail. Okay, so Afghanistan continued to be wrecked by internecine violence, and Taliban increasing its control over several provinces, and government's writ is prevailing only in the north central parts of the country. So this is all, and this article is important for GS paper 2 mainly. Okay, next, a very important article for GS paper 3 and 2 both, issue related to environment, climate accounting, climate financing, and the issue of threats to world ecosystem balance. Now see, Amazon fires, and these are not simple fires, they are burning our future in a way, and the alarm that lacks proportion. You see, it has become a very complex issue, and this article is also very much complex, because they are showing a lot of numbers. They are telling us how these things are important, and some clarification they are trying to make here for the layman, means as a very much simple and understanding we cannot have in this article. So I'm trying to simplify this for you people, because they are trying to explain the balancing factor, they are trying to explain the issue of tussle between the developing and the developed nation, and how this issue is a kind of a new thing and a new opportunity for the developed countries to put pressure on the developing countries, and they are trying to escape from their own duties, and they are trying to distort this climate discourse that is going on for years now. And those things were in a way straight, because lateral demand was there from the developing countries to the developed countries, that you need to support us because it is your responsibility, and whatever issue of climate change is there you have created this problem and you need to support us. But now when Brazil as a developing country is facing this issue, and bizarre issues are coming out of it, the Bolsonaro's statements here, and the denial of getting the support, and then a threat by Emmanuel Macron, the French president there, that they will think about the deal of EU Mercosur, and that can be economically very problematic for Brazil there. the biggest country there in South American continent. So all these things are extremely complex now, and there can be distortions of the climate discourse in the future. So developing countries need to be very of this situation, and they need to be aware here. So the description is here. Let's see. Provocatively anti-environmental and climate denial views of Brazil president, and they're just like Trump's ways, but you see there is a difference. Trump is the leader of most powerful nation, and Bolsonaro is a leader of a developing nation, and there is a huge fight between the developing and the developed in this climate context. So that's why Bolsonaro's views, opinions, and his arrogance is not acceptable here, and the kind of intentions we are observing here, and some kind of confusions and some kind of suspicions are there on these fires. Those need a lot of clarification, and why these are continuing, why there is a denial of support, why Amazon is still burning and these fires are not getting controlled, and these things are not impossible, but these things are continuing. So what are the reasons? Some clarifications are needed here. Now, allegations, counter allegations, in some absurd way these are going on. Now, unfortunately, the line says, in this confrontation, facts and scientific evidences have become collateral damage. You see, they all are busy in a kind of a confrontation where allegation, counter allegation is going on, and the Amazon is burning. Nobody's more focused on Amazon fires. They are focused on the world political issue here, and the confrontation is also in danger of skewing the global discourse on climate policy, as I explained to you, opening the way for unprecedented pressure from developed countries on the global south. Global south means all the developing countries group. Means global south is what? The Bandung conference, which happened in 1955. Then they started this term. They started using this term as global south. Means Indonesia, India, South Africa, and Brazil. All these developing countries which are located on the south of their continents. So global south, and mainly the global north, where most of these Western countries are there, and they are richer countries, developed countries. So this fight is between global north and global south, if we talk about climate context. So the pressure is there on global south now, and it's a kind of a very nice excuse for the developed countries to put pressure there, because they are alleging that developing countries are also not very much sincere about this issue, and they are all demanding developed countries support there. They are trying to put pressure there, and they are using historical issues to put pressure today on developed countries, and that is not fair. So this issue of CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility, that discourse may be skewed in the future. You see, emission math, if we see here, that it is not something that there is a climate emergency today. Why we are saying that? We are not trying to negate the Amazon fire issue here. That is extremely sensitive and devastating, but the kind of excuse which is being explored by developed nations, that we need to define here. Means it's a big problem, but it is not a climate emergency, because earlier there have been many fires, and if we see the condition of these fires and the threat there, then we need to see some numbers here. You see, since 1750 year, when this industrial revolution started, 30 gigaton of carbon dioxide we have added, and the margin remains huge. Means plus or minus 45 gigaton can be there as an addition or the minus there. So all the more, if you see cumulatively, then it's all a neutral issue. If we see the fires, emissions, and the land use change policies, and whatever destruction that has happened, but vegetations continue to grow. They absorb also. If they are destroyed, if more carbon dioxide is added in the atmosphere, then vegetations are also absorbing a lot. So carbon dioxide, which is there in excessive amount, that is being absorbed also. So it's a kind of a neutral condition. That's why we say net balance. Okay, so that's the issue. And cumulative emissions from land use change since 1750 amounted to 180 gigaton, and where the more and more agriculture croplands are coming up, because we need food security, so jungles are being cleared. So that is also a big reason that additional gigatons are there in the atmosphere. But you see, the undisturbed vegetations like Amazon forest, they continue to absorb the excessive carbon dioxide, so they balance these things. And that's why the Amazon forest, the tropical forest and all, these are extremely needed for the future, because they balance. So 160 gigaton is absorbed out of 180, 160 is absorbed, so you can see only 20 gigatons difference is there. But future is under threat, because the pace of deforestation and the degradation is very huge, and that's why we are at threat. Today it is all okay till now, not all okay, but in a way it's not an emergency, but in the future it may be a condition of emergency. So that's why these are extremely important, but still in a way not an emergency. The way they are finding an excuse there and putting pressure on global south, that is not fair in a way. Carbon accounting, the main issue. You see, the most important and relevant issues today which are going on for the last 2-3 years, these are carbon accounting, carbon emission trading, and the climate finance, and the climate economics. Okay, carbon economics, these issues are most relevant here, and you need to be very much clear about these concepts. They are asked every year in the environment section, the forest service examination, the prelims is there combinedly. So these questions are very relevant and common, and in the mains also you need to write these things, and these will give you additional marks. Okay, they will certainly fetch you additional marks there. So these issues of carbon accounting, they talk about annual emissions, and there is a issue, as we discussed, that the net balance is close to a neutral condition if we talk about land degradation and deforestation. But the fossil fuel use, means we are using petrol, diesel, and these coals. These things were buried under the land billions of years back. Now we are exploiting them, means there is no way we can compensate for those things, because these are additional emissions, and those are the real problem creator. Means if we are destroying trees there, we can plant more trees. It will take time, but anyhow it will balance, and the vegetation is continuing to absorb the carbon dioxide. But these fuel emissions, they are the real problem creator, and there the responsibility of developed nations that lies. So that's why those are something that we can never send them back from where they came from, because we are using them, exploiting under the earth. So that's why more control must be there on those issues, and that's why the renewable energy and the electric vehicles, they are the ultimate solutions there. So there we need to focus a lot, and there developed countries need to support the developing nations for sure. Okay, now overall tropical forests were marginally a source of emissions of about 0.11 gigatons of carbon per year, if we consider these forest fires and all. And clearly there is no cause for complacency, means we are not trying to negate the problem with these fires and with these deforestation issue. Those must go on, and the ultimate efforts are needed. But certainly the way developed countries are putting pressure, it is not an emergency here. The COP14 is going on, then this article becomes much more important. Although it's a very typical article, I know it's a very difficult article to understand, but I'm trying my best here. So COP14 is going on for UNCCD, and this is the only convention that is legally binding there, and that's going on in India right now. So this article becomes much more important. So you need to repeat this thing if you're not understanding right now. So additional points here, there is no magic bullet. As I told you, we need to make efforts for these deforestation issues and all, and this convention UNCCD is the most important one here. But you see, these are not magic bullets to reverse the conditions, because as I told you, fossil fuels are the real problem creator, and these things may neutralize their own problem, means the Amazon fires and all these kind of issues, they can be managed by these dense vegetations, and they can balance this thing out. But the the magic bullet is not there for these fossil fuel emissions, and they have the lasting impact, and we have problems because of those. So that's why there are no magic bullets for that. We need to control those emissions. Okay, and whatever IPCC has told us, that is also talking about these fossil fuel emissions. So ultimately the responsibility remains for sure with the developed countries, and developing countries also need to be very much aware, and they need to put extra efforts there, because things will not be sorted out if only they are going to allege the developed countries and they are not taking any effort. Like Mr. Bolsonaro, he has made absurd statements there, and they are not looking very sincere in managing those Amazon fires. So this will not do very well. They also need to make many efforts, but the support from the developed countries is a must. Okay, so that's the issue. And we have been observing all the evidences, like the France temperature in these summers went up to 44 degrees centigrade, and that is unprecedented and very much alarming. Siberia, Canada forests, they are having fires because the unusual high temperatures are there. Those are the regions, means evidence is in front of us, and you cannot say that these climate politics will help anyway. All countries combinedly need to make much more effort, and that's needed. Okay, so it's the issue, and some positive things are also there. Like if you talk about developing nations, then we need to talk about Brazil. Today the fires are going on, but Brazil has done very good in the recent past. Like the land degradation and the deforestation was going on with a very fast pace, but it has controlled to some extent, like 75%. They have reduced this speed of deforestation since 2005, and that contribution is good. And they have managed the agribusiness issue and the farmers issue also, means they have balanced those things. They have supported their food security, and they have managed the Amazon issue also, although they are not totally successful, and the pace is still very high of degradation, but still some issues are commendable. But today what's going on, that will impact the future, and today things do not look very well here. So all countries need to be very much concerned about that. Okay, you see here a report of 2018 by UNFCCC that tells us that developed countries, they talk too much about that, but they have only reduced 1.3% in the last 26 years, and that's really concerning, and that exposes their hypocrisy. And what they say today, that is also very much hypocritical, and that shows their real intention and how they are taking excuses here. You see, you will not imagine what they said. Stephen Walt, a US foreign policy commentator, the same country whose leader says climate change is a hoax, that country's commentator said that major powers could intervene even militarily to discipline nations recalcitrant in climate action. Means the countries like Brazil or any other country who are not looking very sincere in this climate change issue, we can take military measures against them. We can intervene militarily also, and that's the most bizarre thing here, because their country's leaders say that climate change is a hoax, and they say that we can take military actions. So that's really a disturbing thing, and these kind of comments are really problematic. In a separate instance, the problem which is going on between France and Brazil, the way Emmanuel Macron, the French president, is saying that we will block the EU-Mercosur trade deal to mark the European Union's displeasure there against the decision making of Mr. Bolsonaro and the technique of Amazon fires issue. Means they are trying to show that they are the real protectors of the climate, and these developed countries are actually very much concerned about these issues, and in real sense they are not doing much. So hypocrisy is going on, and the pressure they are trying on global south or the developing countries, and that's really concerning. Next article talking about the very important issue of balancing factor, which is being tried by India in the America, Russia, China, and India angle. Although more complex is the America, Russia, and India triangle. And a lot of allegations were there that India is going more towards America. The inclination is more towards American side. They are signing a lot of deals and all, and they are losing Russia. But 2-3 times we have shown that Russia is nowhere away from us, and we are maintaining our friendship. And Russia is also reciprocating here. That's very, very good. The Vladivostok summit recently, which happened, where we attended it and we announced our line of credit, $1 billion. That's really a good balancer. Earlier, the S-400 deal that we signed bravely, and putting aside all the allegations that we are compromising with Russia there. So that was also a great balancer. So these things are really a booster in India-Russia relationship. Here, Dmitry Frolovsky, he says that the strategic triangle is under a lot of pressure because the conditions are really difficult. The US-China trade wars are going on. World growth is also very much in a difficult phase, and the balance of powers, they are shifting continuously. But here we have a great opportunity, and the way we were invited, we took part in that summit, and the way we are balancing here, that's really commendable, and that will bolster India-Russia relations further for future. And New Delhi is specifically concerned about Russia because they are coming too close to China, and both these countries, Russia and China, they are supporting each other psychologically, geopolitically, and in all sense, and they are trying to build a good rapport there. Although in the past they were in a way enemies, but now they are very good friends. So that's really concerning for in New Delhi. But when we are attracted by America again and again, then Russia is very much concerned. So Russia is trying to get back India on the table again and again, and Russia is also wary of a situation where Chinese hegemony is rising in the Eurasian region. For China and Russia, Eurasia is a big dream because this is the Asian century, and things are not going great in the West. So all are focused towards East. And after 2014, Russia is focused on its Eastern Asian Russia part, the Far East region. And that's why this summit is very much important. So Russia is trying to make up things with India for two reasons. For the American region and for the Chinese region too, because Chinese hegemony is also can be a problem for Russia in the future, because Russia is the powerful country there, but Chinese rise is very, very fast, and America has taken China too seriously because China is the biggest rival now, more than Russia. For China, America is concerned, and that's why it can be a concern for Russia too. Means they are building a good rapport with China, but obviously they want to remain the most important one here. So that's why they do not want to give Russia a free hand there. So they want to keep China in a check, in a sense. Okay, so Russia wants to control Chinese hegemony also, and that is also a big reason that they are trying to build a continuous good rapport with India too. So that's why India's involvement is very much opportune here. Okay, so two big reasons are there for Russia to get India back on the track. Obviously we have not lost the track, but after these allegations and after this American inclination, Russia would want India back on the earlier positions. So there we have advantage on both the sides. Like America is giving support here, and we are getting Russian support also. So if we are handling the situation very efficiently, then we are advantageous on both the fronts. But if we are weak in our judgments, in our diplomacy, then certainly we will have problems from both the sides. We are there in the center. Okay, and we need to control the Chinese pressure there, because China is trying to control the situation on all the fronts, whether we talk about Indo-Pacific or whether we talk about Asian region. Belt and Road Initiative is a big expectation for China, and it has established all the roads and infrastructure in the Eurasian region. So they have a lot of expectations for the Eurasian region, and there they do not want an Indian rise. But for multiple reasons, Russia and America both are trying to woo India here. That's for sure. You see the numbers. The trade grew by 22% 2017 year, 17% for the last year. So these are good signs. We will be close to $30 billion trade by 2025. So that's really very good. Russia's oil giants. You please note down all these things. Russia's oil giant Rosneft, that has invested in SR Oil, the second biggest giant in this refinery area. So $12.9 billion they have invested. That's really, really huge. And they are studying the feasibility of Nagpur Sikandrabad high speed rail project. There are Russians are going to support there. So that's really great. Butyl rubber is in much demand now because India's automobile sector is very much flamboyant and that is rising with a good pace. Although some problems are there in present, but we need more and more butyl rubber for the vehicles industry. So that is focused a lot, and Russia has enormous technologies. And February 2012, Reliance has signed a pact, and it's a joint venture in Gujarat Jamnagar for Russian Cyber and Reliance. So now Cyber has agreed to share proprietary butyl rubber technology, and that's really a great thing for India and unprecedented for a Russian company. They do not share these technologies very easily with countries, but with India they have compromised a lot in the past, and still they are giving a lot of support. So in a way, Russia is way more a true friend for India than America, and always they have supported us. We signed a friendship a treaty in 1971 during the Bangladesh situation. Bangladesh was created. West threatened us. Russia countered that, and Russia sent their fleet for support of Indians. So since then the friendship is going on, and Russia is the biggest defense partner for us, largest arms supplier for us, and that is going on as a rock strong friendship. Recently some suspicions were there, but again these things are getting solved, and with a very fast pace. And the new summit in far east of Russia, that is a good balancer there. So many things we need to note down here. $5 billion S-400 air defense system deal that we did very bravely, boldly. That was great, and ultimately it will be close to $10 billion deal. Next, Kamo KA-2226T helicopters. This deal we have signed, and frigates deal. That's important deal we have signed, and a joint venture in Amethi, Uttar Pradesh. For what? For 7.5 lakh Kalashnikov AK-203 rifles that we will build, and that important venture is going to be very, very important for India and Uttar Pradesh both. Sukhoi 30 MKI we are going to acquire. 21 MiG-29 fighters we will acquire, and Project 75, the submarine project, very important project. There America is there Russia is supporting, and 114 fighter jets deal for Indian Air Force. All these things are going on, and they are huge deals, and that's why Russia becomes the largest supplier for these weapons and aircrafts there. So nothing can be bigger than that for India-Russian relationship, and that's going on. And Russia has supported us in inducting India into SCO organization. China certainly did not want India there, but Russia supported India a lot. So that is also a big evidence that Russia wants a true friendship, and always it supported India. So that's why it's a true friend in all the senses, and we need to maintain this relationship rock strong always. And always experts say America is not that much reliable as Russia is, and Russia has given all the evidences that it supports India always. So that's why it's a great thing, and always it's a happy moment to be with Russia. And Mr. Modi deserves a lot of praise here, because his personal rapport with the Russian leader is also great, and that has its own impacts, and we have a positive situation there with Russia now. Balancing roles are too many, and a peaceful exchange between New Delhi and Beijing is perceived as fragile, and Russia's role can be very positive here, even in balancing the India-China situation. Means the confrontation must not be there for sure, and Russia supports that between India and China. So checking China is going on both by India, Russia, and America too. Means America is always for checking the Chinese dominance there, but the Chinese rise is concerned is concerning for all the countries. Okay, you cannot say that Russia is not concerned. Russia is certainly concerned. So that's why the Russian role in Asian region is extremely important for India. Okay, so this is all, and we will keep getting many more articles in this issue, and these examples which are given, they can be asked in prelims and for the mains answering. These are extremely important. So I'm giving you a question today. You can write a mains question that comment on the India-Russia relationship. What are the challenges in the recent times, and what are the balancing factors, and what are the opportunities that we can hope in the future which will be great for India-Russia relationship. Okay, and they may ask you that comment on the India-Russia relationship in the Chinese context or in the American context. So all these things will be very much helpful there. Okay, you can write these important questions. Next article is regarding the steel frame of our Indian system, that is a bureaucracy. And you may have many instances where politicians are shifting all the blames on bureaucracy, but I can never support this argument that bureaucrats are all corrupt. They are corrupt in very less numbers, and most of them are very much hardworking, dedicated, and very much concerned about this country. And they have shown this thing, they have given these evidences many times that they think about this country and they do not compromise. And where these ideals and these basics are bolstered, this is the institution of Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. Very much prestigious institution, one of the most important one in this country, established in Missouri in 1959 in Himalayan peaks, and always inspiring these trainees that you have a great future ahead for this country, and you need to dedicate your life for that. A lot of sacrifices you need to make, but your ideals must be very high, and they maintain this position. Recently many suspicions are going on. A lot of officers are under pressure, they are resigning, and some even committed suicides, but they have maintained these ethos, and they are showing us that they do not compromise. If some things are problematic, then they are too brave to report these things, and they do not compromise. And their ethos and their ideals are also expressed with these resignations. If they need to compromise for this country, that's okay, but if they need to compromise their ideals to save this country, then certainly they are resigning, and that thing is really great. So that's why a lot of things are concerning, and today we need to ask many questions, and today we need to take care about the bureaucracy here. This steel frame has maintained and supported this country all these years, and you can say this is the single institution that has given a strength to this country to grow further with a very fast pace. But this will be compromised if the steel frame will be compromised, and that is also by these politicians who are really not concerned about this country, and they are all concerned about their own political existence. And these evidences are all in front of us that they can go to any law to save their existence there, and they can shift any kind of blame on the bureaucracy. That is all evident. So that's why these issues are extremely concerning. IAS motto is Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam, and their song is How Dharomate Dheer and How Karomate Beer, means be firm in your faith, and you need perfection in your action and the proficiency in your action. These things are symbolic to the national expectation from these bureaucracy, and they are nowhere compromising on their ideals and on these lines to serve their country. That is seen in many instances. So that's why it's all very much inspiring. And these two all India services, IAS and IPS, they manifest all these ideals in their serving to the nation. In 1960, a common foundation course was started, and this has become a real controversy in the recent times, where they have added some new things, and they say that some things are really problematic. They have made some assessments and marking very much crucial for their appointments and all, for their postings and all, and some questions are really raised, but they have maintained an unaltered system that purify the ideas, that purify the strengths, and that has given a real boost to the courage to these aspirants. And these kind of trainings, these kind of courses, these kind of psychological assessments are available in the training, which are real boosters, confidence boosters in these officials. Like in 1969, a district training being sandwiched between institutional exposure at the academy, and these remained broadly unaltered, and these trainings are going on in the same way, and they have maintained a kind of a decorum, a kind of a prestige in its sense, and they demand a lot of dedication, and it is reciprocated with the same level of dedication by the trainees there. So it is all a proud thing for this country. And you see, IS trainees are now awarded an MA degree in public administration and public management by Jawaharlal Nehru University, and mid-career trainings programs are going on for the officers. Means there is no doubt about this institution and their training purposes, and no doubt about their skills when they come to serve this country. This academy now houses 5 national research centers regarding rural studies, disaster management, gender, public system management, and leadership development, and the competency assessments. So very basic socio-economic themes are there, and very much important administrative themes are there. So they are making them very much efficient. Kargil Review Committee recommendations were there regarding a joint civil military program on national security for these trainees. So that is going on since 2001. So there is no lack of skill management and skill promotion there, and they are very much efficient in handling those situations. So that's why they are hard worker, they are skilled, they are professional, they are trained very well, and they are having that dedication. So that's why there are very less instances that they become corrupt and they compromise the ideals there for their own gains, and many times they are living a life under pressure